Welcome to Hispanic Biz Success Stories. I'm Homero Galicia. We interview business owners who built businesses, successful ones, to learn from them their story, their struggles, their triumphs, in hopes that you find these stories educational, entertaining, but also interesting. Thank you for joining us today. We're very fortunate to have with us Mr. Felix Holguin, who is the co-founder of El Paso del Norte Advisors. Mr. Holguin, thank you so much for being with us and sharing your story.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Well, Mr. Holguin, tell me, what is El Paso del Norte Advisors?
We're actually a fully licensed health insurance agency that has been in business now for 10 years. And we actually help people with health insurance, not only in terms of finding plans that fit their needs, but also there's been a lot of changes through the Affordable Care Act that allow people to actually get health insurance at a very affordable rate. I mean, we even have clients that could get it for free, okay? And all that depends on their financial need, okay? Now, the biggest thing that the Affordable Care Act did was that it's guaranteed insurability now for people. So, say back a couple years ago, if you wanted to get your own health insurance, you couldn't have any type of pre-existing condition, okay? So that's the reason why a lot of people would actually stay at the work they were at if they offered health insurance, because they weren't able to get it off on their own because, you know, they had high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, asthma, you know, any type of pre-existing condition wasn't covered. So now, through the healthcare law, people are actually able to get health insurance and have those pre-existing conditions covered.
But you've been doing health insurance for 10 years?
Yes, 10 years now. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how many employees do you have now?
I have 30 full-time employees, and then we also have licensed agents, and that varies anywhere from 20 to 25 agents at a time.
Mr. Holguin, you grew up here in the El Paso area.
Yes, born and raised. Yes, born and raised here, but grew up in Canutillo.
What was it like growing up in Canutillo?
Totally different than it is nowadays. You know, back then it was, you know, like a farm and ranch community. So, you know, we didn't have access to a movie theater or the mall, or, you know, a big trip for us was, you know, going, you know, to like the racetrack. You know, that was something that we like to do. But growing up in Canutillo, you know, it was very close-knit community. It still is. You know, a lot of us from Canutillo remember where we're from, but you know, in the summertime, it was all about actually going to the crop fields. And my mom actually would take us growing up to instill in us the value of having an education. You know, so she would tell us, well, if you don't go to school, then, you know, you might be doing this for the rest of your life, which, I mean, I remember going and, you know, in the fields and picking, you know, jalapenos. And I remember the first time that we did that, you know, it was me and my brother. You know, I was about, you know, 6 or 7 years old.
Wow,
my
yeah.
brother's, you know, he's 4 years older than me. And, you know, at the time, I don't know how it is now, but I was at the time, they would give you a bucket that you would go and you would be picking. And so my mom, you know, she went off on her own. She told us, hey, you know, just make sure you guys, you know, fill the bucket. When you fill it, take it to the truck. So we did that. And we would take it. And my mom was, you know, at lunchtime, that's when we went up with my mom again. And she's like, you know, how many chips do you have, or fichas? And we're like, what, chips? What are you talking about? And she's like, what? You guys are kidding me. We're like, what are you talking about? Well, you know, every time they would dump the bucket, they would put a chip inside the bucket. And at the end of the day, you would turn in your chips, and they would give you $1 for every chip. Well, you know, we didn't know that. So we lost half a day of work, you know, for not having the chips. But, I mean, you saw, you know, people were working hard and making $20 a day. And that was like very, very good, you know. So growing up, you know, our parents instilled that hard work and also the value of education, okay, which is something that we do at El Paso Norte Advisors. You know, we actually give free advice. You know, if you're not sure how the law works or how health insurance works, you know, that's when people could call us, and we don't charge anything for our services.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how many brothers and sisters do you have?
I have my sister, she's the oldest, and then I have an older brother and a younger brother.
And what are they older than?
All of us are college grads. My sister, she actually graduated from EPCC. She got her associates in accounting. My older brother, he did electrical engineering at UTEP. Now he works at Chesapeake Energy in Oklahoma City. He's a measurement engineer out there. And then my younger brother, he studied at UT. He did aerospace engineering. Now he works at Lockheed Martin in Fort Worth. So, and I myself, I graduated from UTEP, did finance.
So through that, when you went out to work in the fields, was your mother saying, "I want you to learn about education"?
Yes, she would tell.
She knew that's the purpose.
Yeah, because in Spanish she would tell, no quiero que sean burros, right? Or I don't want you guys, to grow up and not have that education, because that's something not only in my mom's family but my dad's family they saw, where they're a lot of them were in construction business or in the farm, especially in Canutillo. You would see a lot of people out there working in farms and ranches, and I mean that's hard labor. I remember cousins, or now cousins of mine that are my same age, they look a lot older, and that's just because of the type of work they're in, So, my mom was like, you know what, she would always tell us it's better to work smarter instead of working harder.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
And your mom, what was she like?
The great thing about my mom was that she was a stay-at-home mom. So, I mean, nowadays, it's something totally different, but that is something that I really loved about, her always being there at home, in the sense that, especially me, I was very involved in sports growing up, so I wouldn't have to worry about, buying food on the street. She would always pack me lunch, pack me breakfast. Food was always, there at home, but also, somebody to talk to. She would also help us, with homework as much as she could. But the other factor too was that I saw the relationship she had with my dad, and that she still has. They're still, gracias a Dios, they're still together, they're still married. Where she was basically in charge of the home, in charge of us, which allowed my dad to focus on work. Mm-hmm.
And your father, what did he do?
Growing up, my dad worked for El Paso Sand. He did that for a lot of years, up until they got bought out by Job, and then he's actually always loved kids. So when that happened, it was kind of like a blessing in disguise, because it allowed for him to actually work for the school district as a bus driver. He had experience in that. He's licensed, his CDL for that. So he did bus driving for, about 20 years.
Wow.
He actually just retired last year.
Mm-hmm. Wow, fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great. And so what was he like? I mean, what did you learn from your dad?
My dad, dedication. Dedicated, he would always tell us, if you start something, you better finish it. And we saw that in him. He would work a lot of times, 6 days a week, where, I mean, we would hardly see him, because he would leave home before we woke up, and he would get home till, after we were asleep. So Sundays was really the day, because, that's something that my parents have always.
You had Sunday rituals?
Yeah. Sunday ritual was, go to church, and then after church, go to my grandma's house, and then, come back, go back to church, and then, go back home and unwind. That was the routine.
When you grew up, were you, was your home Spanish speaking?
Yes, 100%. I actually didn't, and none of my brothers, we actually didn't start speaking Spanish until we went to school.
You mean English?
Excuse me, English, yeah. So it was all 100% Spanish up until kindergarten, because my mom, she was also, she didn't like for us to go to pre-K because we were so young. She says, no, you know what, kindergarten is perfect age for you guys. So, all of us, we started speaking English at school.
Wow.
And like in my personal case, I picked it up pretty quick. I remember I was in the ESL just for the first semester in kindergarten. Then after that, they put me in just English. Oh. And that was my first time where I was pretty nervous, because, every time they take you out of your comfort zone, especially when you're so young, it's something that they remember for a lifetime. And I remember, when they put me in the English class, I was maybe one of 4 Hispanics,
Really?
Yeah, because it's still in Canutillo, there's there's been families that have been out there for years, for decades. And that was first time where I was like, wow, there's people that have different cultures that are different from one, but it was also a great learning experience. That was the first time, that actually one of my friends, I met him in kindergarten, and we're still friends to this day.
Really?
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And so what schools did you go to then?
Just Canutillo, everything up until graduated high school back in '97.
Okay.
And I was fortunate enough to get a scholarship from UTEP, which actually paid for my tuition and everything. Wow. And I did my degree in finance, graduated in 2001 from UTEP.
So you were a top student in high school?
Yeah, I actually graduated number 5.
Wow, that's
the
fantastic.
class, we didn't have big classes, but it was pretty big at the time. There was about 200 of us.
Okay. So why did you go into finance at UTEP?
When I was a sophomore in high school, I actually had an injury to my knee, which, because everybody growing up, especially if you're in sports, the big dream is to make it big, right? Well, when I was a sophomore, when I had the injury, I was in rehab for about 6 weeks, and then you start thinking, you're like, you know what, sports isn't everything. You really have to, and I started going back on the values that my mom instilled. Where you really need to find something that you could educate yourself on, but always find something that you love. So, and this happened in high school. There was actually a competition through the UIL, and one thing that intrigued me was small businesses. I was intrigued by that. I was like, wow, there's all these entrepreneurs that start their small businesses, and that's how everybody starts, and obviously they become big corporations. So I entered that competition at UIL, and I actually made it all the way to nationals, in international business. Yeah.
Really? You went to nationals?
Internationals, yeah.
You won state, and then
yes.
you went on to...
Yes, the nationals were actually in Florida.
So what was that, like business plans or?
No, it was a lot of trivia, where they would ask you questions on, how business is conducted in certain parts of the world.
Okay.
And I've always had that photographic memory, so I really enjoyed that. So I started getting more involved into that. I joined Business Professionals of America, or BPA, got more involved into the business world. And I actually remember at a health fair, there was an individual who was actually from the IRS, if you believe it or not. And he was talking about how he's an auditor and things he sees in business. And I still remember this. I remember him telling me that the number one problem he would see in this community was that people were unaware of the laws that would affect their business. So that when they would actually go in and audit somebody, 10 out of 10 times where they would find something wrong, it's because the person didn't know that. Oh, I didn't know I had to do that. And the second thing he saw in our community was the language barrier. A lot of people, obviously Spanish speaking, and the law, in English. So that was a big factor. So that's really when I made my decision. You know what? I really want to study finance and learn the law and learn the ways in order to educate people here in our community. That way they wouldn't fall into those traps, or making those mistakes that they would do.
Well, finance is like people want to go sell stocks, right?
Yeah, that's a big part of it, but there's also, finance is from the school of, or the College of Business. So, you obviously have to pick a major. That was something that intrigued me, stocks and bonds, because, it sounds something very, very lucrative. And I remember seeing, which all of us have probably seen, Wall Street, so you're like, whoa, that's something interesting. But I think more than anything, the finance part that I enjoyed most of all was just the daily finances that people have. How people are able to pay their water bill, electric bill, little things like that would interest me. And I would look more and more into the laws and figure out not only ways of people budgeting, but also finding different subsidies or assistances that are actually offered by the federal government that allow people, to have a better a lifestyle.
So that was always your interest, all the way through college?
Yeah, the more I would look into it, I would pick up little pieces of the law here and there, and I would always go back to my roots, because I remember situations at home where, for whatever reason, the mail got lost, and my dad would have to pay a late fee, for a past due on a bill or something like that, and I would be like, wow, that's, in a way, it's not fair, because he was kind of being penalized for something that he didn't know about, or he didn't get in time, or et cetera, So looking into that, that was something of finance that really intrigued me, because if I was able to learn it, then anybody else could learn, But I think the language barrier was something that really affects our community. So a lot of things that I learned in school and while I was going through school, I would actually share with my parents. And it's something that has really benefited them, benefited them. I remember, my parents actually wanted to retire at age 62. Well, I told them, it's fine, you guys retire whenever you want, but just keep in mind that the Medicare, which is the health insurance offered through the federal government, doesn't actually begin until age 65. So for those 3 years, you might not have health insurance. Exactly, it's something that affects your finances at the end of the day, okay? And, your health is something that you really, really need to take care of. Now, the great thing about, today is that there's laws in place that are available for people to not only protect, their livelihood, but also the livelihood of their family.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you finished finance at UTEP, what year?
In 2001.
And you enjoyed UTEP?
Oh, I love UTEP.
You were involved in organizations?
Yes, and still are.
You're alumni and all of that?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So what happens? You graduate, what's next?
I actually got recruited by MetLife, which is a huge life insurance company. Got recruited, actually spent time in New York. Right after September 11th, I was out there. And, my first interest was life insurance because, it was something that I would see in the community also, where people, would pass away and they didn't have any type of will, they didn't have any type of protection, so it would happen at funerals, and it's probably something you experienced. It's kind of like pass the hat, hey, we got to collect some money, for the funeral expenses. So, that was really, something that we still do today. But that was really the first stepping stone in not only educating people on the value of life insurance, but how it has the ability of, leaving a legacy for your family, and also, just having the peace of mind knowing, what, something happens to me today, my parents, or excuse me, my family isn't gonna have to worry about passing the hat or trying to collect some money or getting a loan to cover those expenses, but also allow my family to have the same lifestyle that they're having right now. So, that was the first stepping stone in dealing with insurance, life insurance. And a lot of our clients at the time were senior citizens. Obviously, the older we get, we start thinking about, obviously we know we're not going to be here forever. So, a lot of the senior citizens that we had for life insurance, number one was we would educate them on the different types of life insurance. There's whole life, there's term, there's variable, and just finding the need. And that's something that I really did learn at MetLife, was first you gotta find the need of people, and then, if you're educated on the products, and then you're able to fulfill the need. And that's something that we still do today. Yeah,
but your motivation was seeing family, because I know that so many of us come to older age and have nothing to leave our family, and so we work hard, but we don't have that we haven't built up enough to leave.
Exactly.
So insurance comes to be something that's important.
Exactly.
We don't burden our children and leave them with something. So that was your motivation then, because
Yes.
you saw that.
Yes.
So how long were you with MetLife?
MetLife, I was there 4 years, and also a college buddy of mine, which now he's also the co-founder of El Paso Norte Advisors. His name is Victor La Rosa. We actually started the company, in 2005. because we saw that we wanted to focus more on the values of our community. And usually when you're working in a corporate environment, they don't allow for you to have that freedom, that flexibility. And at the time, we're pretty enough stable financially that we're able to to create something on our own and help out the community.
But you had an interest in business.
Yes.
Since high school.
Yes, since high school. Mm-hmm.
So you saw an opportunity and you.
Yes.
But you learned something in MetLife?
Yes. Yeah.
What did you learn?
The biggest thing, like I was telling you before, was asking the right questions, but doing a needs analysis. Sometimes when you're out, you're trying to sell your services, sell your product, you're more focused on your needs, your own needs. Right. What I learned in MetLife was focusing on your client's needs. That is something that I learned there. Where it's about them. And that's something that we still do today.
And that spoke to you.
Exactly.
That was your
yes, and it's something that, not something I learned at school, not something specifically that I learned at MetLife was that.
So you were motivated to start a business? You saw an opportunity, yes. or you just stepped out?
Well, what happened at the time was, we had a lot of clients in the life insurance, and in 2005, they enacted the Medicare Privatization Act, which means that everybody that has Medicare has to have a prescription drug plan, okay? Because before 2005, Medicare didn't cover prescription drugs. That's the reason why we had so many pharmacies here in Juarez, okay? Was because, Medicare, which is the health insurance for people over the age 65 or people that are disabled under the age 65, Medicare didn't cover prescription drugs. So a lot of people, and I remember growing up, we would have family from Colorado come into town, and a lot of times I actually thought that they were here to visit us. But we would always make a trip to Juarez, and I was like, oh, cool, go to Juarez, go eat. But I remember they would always go to the pharmacy every time. And the reason being is because Medicare didn't cover prescription drugs. So in 2005, our own clients started calling us. They're like, hey, Felix, I already called Medicare, or they didn't have somebody in Spanish to talk to me. That was a big one. Or they just couldn't give me the right information. I don't know where to go. And they're telling me that I need to sign up for a prescription drug plan, to get my medications covered, but I don't know where to go. So then, that's really when, we kind of had an aha moment, and we're like, this is a big need, and it's going to be a very big need for our community. So that's when me and my business partner, that's when we got licensed, we got certified, then we were actually able to fill the need for our community. Not only for our clients for life insurance, but you know as well as I do that El Paso works word of mouth. So as soon as we helped out one of my clients, then they tell la comadre, el compadre, the vecinos, they tell their whole family. So that's how we were able to grow.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
No, I remember that. The pattern was to go over to Juarez to Mexico, mm-hmm. because those pharmacies didn't require a prescription. You could ask for your prescription drugs without a prescription, yeah. and bring them across. Mm-hmm. And so that was here. We were fortunate. I guess, yeah. we could do that.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I remember going to get amoxicillin for the kids. Because yeah. Didn't have to go to the doctor. You just prescribe it yourself. Yeah. But so you saw the need. You and your partner
yes.
saw the need.
Mm-hmm.
And how did you finance the startup?
We actually our first office we had on Montana Street, and I'm always going to be grateful to Carlos Carrasco. He's the judge now, but at the time, he was an attorney, and he's from Canutillo also. I've known him all my life. He goes to the same church that we go to, and he actually let us rent from him there at his office. So that was the first start, and I'm always going to be thankful to Carlos Carrasco. If he's watching, thanks again, for everything, because he really allowed for us to have a base, because sometimes people do the mistake of having an office at their home, which isn't anything wrong with it, okay? But I think starting off, you really have to have a neutral site, where you could just focus on business. Because, if you're at home, something's gonna happen. The phone's gonna ring. The neighbors come walking by. There's a lot of distractions. So that really allowed for us just to focus on our clients. And I remember, just working long hours. Working from usually our hours were like from 10 to 10, usually.
Wow.
Starting off, we'd also work on Sundays, but it's one of those things where, obviously the age factor comes into play, where you're, you don't get tired as quickly. But the other thing too is that we were so excited of getting the word out and helping out people, because when you're actually able to change somebody's lifestyle, because you got to remember, before the Medicare Privatization Act, people couldn't get their prescription drugs. Now they're able to, and very affordable, okay, which is something covered through Medicare. So you would actually see people that initially, when we sit down with them, they had a cane, they had a hard time breathing, and then the following year, we would show them the benefits, for that year, the new ones. They were totally different. Sometimes I wouldn't even recognize clients because they were able to get that health care, that they needed.
So you're motivated by serving that need, by
Yes.
meeting that need.
Mm-hmm.
Were you motivated by we're going to make a lot of money?
No, never have, and that's something that me and my business partner have said from the first day. We're like, look, you know what? We're gonna keep on doing this to help out the people. Okay. Once, like how you said, if our motivating factor is the money, then we got to stop doing this. Okay. But no, and up until this day, that's not something that motivates us. What motivates us is helping out the community. Mm-hmm.
And you really enjoy that.
Yes, love it. It's
And
my
your partner's
passion.
along with you.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Is he different than you?
I guess our personalities are different, but in a way they're good. I'm a very passive person. He's more of, come on, let's go. So it works both ways. I mean, we really make a great team, and that's the reason why I think our partnership has worked out. And I mean, even before we were partners, we were college buddies, so we've known each other for a long time.
Well, now you've built a business to where you have
Yes.
30 full-time and
Mm-hmm.
20 to 25 part-time
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
agents, and you're serving the community, and you pass that culture on to your employees, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's something that. And usually when we hire employees, it's more of referrals. If we have a position available, I actually ask. First we ask our staff or family of somebody that they think would be good for the position, and when we actually go through the hiring process, that is something. The questions that I focus on are more on what are your motivating factors. What is it that
Sure.
that you like about our company, things of that nature.
Sure.
Mhm.
Well, we'll get into more of how you built your business. So why'd you name your business El Paso Norte Advisors?
We wanted to have a name that sounded local, number one, and in Spanish as well. So we had picked out some names at the time. I don't remember exactly what names, but it was like Paso del Norte or El Paso Valle, just different ones. So at the time, my business partner actually went to the city hall, to register the business, and then he found out that those names were taken. So then he started looking at the phone book right there, and he called me. He's all like, "Hey man, these business names are taken. How do you feel about El Paso Norte Advisors?" I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds good. Let's do it." So it wasn't something that we actually planned out or hired somebody to come up with the name. It was kind of like a spur of the moment thing, and it's something that's caught on, and it really gives people trust.
But you are advisors.
Yes, we are.
What do you advise?
We advise people on different types of insurance. Our focus is health insurance. Okay, that's really what our specialty is. Okay, but within our office, I have specialists that do life insurance, that do taxes, that do property and casualty insurance as well. So, we're able to advise people on, specifically on their health insurance. But whenever you're meeting with a client and you're going through that needs analysis, other needs, pop into place. So when they ask us, about life insurance, about retirement planning, about auto and home, we're able to educate them on those scenarios and then fulfill the need, through specialists that we have there in the office, or we also have very close colleagues that we refer a lot of business to them as well. So, that's the reason why we're called advisors, because we really advise people on that, and we don't charge them, for our services. They're not going to get a bill. They've never gotten a bill from us, for the hour that we spend with them. No, how we actually get paid is if we're able to fulfill that need through a health insurance product or life insurance product, then that product that we put into place, that health insurance company or that life insurance company actually pays us. Mm-hmm. That's how.
So you finished your degree in finance at University of Texas at El Paso.
Yes. Oh, correct.
And you worked a couple of years with MetLife?
4 years.
4 years learning life insurance.
Yes.
But did you get disillusioned with that a little bit?
Yes, just because El Paso is a very unique community. Okay, very unique. And whenever you're in a corporate culture, such as MetLife, they really don't give you the flexibility or freedom, to maybe tailor marketing materials for the community. We would always have to go back and forth, just getting material in Spanish. I mean, we went through headaches for that. But more than anything, it was just where if we wanted to fulfill the need for somebody that MetLife couldn't, then we weren't able to. So that's the reason why it was beneficial for us and for our clients to go independent, because now we didn't have that commitment to fulfill those needs with a MetLife product. Okay, so now we're actually able to choose any product out there that's going to be the best for them. And a lot of people ask me, I want you to put me in the best insurance. Well, they're all good. They're all good. It's just finding the one or the right one for you to meet your needs. And that's the reason why there's so many health insurance companies, why there's so many life insurance companies, because there's so many different needs out there. Okay, so sometimes you have companies that specifically tailor for maybe people that are diabetic. There's other companies that tailor for people that take very little prescriptions. There's other ones for people that need dental work. So that's where we're the reason why we left MetLife is to have that ability to find the perfect match, or try to find the perfect match for people.
So what was motivating you then?
Just to do the best thing for the client. Okay, that was really what motivated us to go independent.
So when you left MetLife to start your own business, you really didn't change your primary client base.
No, but it opened, it opened up the possibilities of helping them out better. Okay, because while you're in a corporate company, in order to stay an employee for them, you need to sell their product. It's for example, if you're selling cars, you got to sell the cars there at the dealership. You can't go to another lot and start selling those cars. So by going independent, you're able to contract with XYZ company, ABC company, and then when you're meeting with somebody, fulfill that need even better.
So you and your business partner started now being insurance professionals, meeting a need that you saw.
Mm-hmm.
And what was it like to start a business?
It's a challenge, but if you have a support team, that are going to help you out, not only financially, okay, but also, spiritually, or just maybe going out and having dinner with a friend and talking about issues that you got starting business. If you have that support base, and as long as you always have, that faith in what you're doing is something that you love and something that you feel is going to help out the community long term, as long as you stick with it and you're putting in those hours, like I was telling you before, we would work 7 days a week, 7 days a week, just trying to get the word out there. The community gives you back. It's kind of like a cliche, you could say, where, what you get back is only equivalent to whatever you put in, But starting off, you really have to put in more because, it's like planting seeds, okay? And some of them are gonna, give you fruit, some aren't, okay? But as long as you're willing to, learn from them, learn from mistakes, I think the biggest issue that I've seen with new business owners is that they can't differentiate their personal, life with their business life. Okay, that's a mistake I see all the time. Where, maybe they open up a shop and they treat it more like a garage or just like another room of their home. You know what I mean? Where they're conducting personal activities instead of focusing on the business. And that was the reason why we're like, if we're going to go independent, we need to have our own office, our own space where we just conduct business. And that's what we were able to do.
And how long was it before you started to have to hire employees?
I would say a good 6 months into it when, because initially we would have to call our clients and set appointments, to meet with them, to go over, their healthcare needs or also their life insurance needs. And, that was taking up a lot of our times because we would actually issue, it's usually Tuesdays were like the best time to call people. Tuesdays, there's not a lot of activities going on. So all day Tuesday, we're actually on the phones, just setting up appointments. So, we're like, what? We need to have somebody to make those appointments for us. That way we just focus on meeting with the people. So then our first hire was, I guess you could say, receptionist slash, appointment maker, where she was just on the phone. And she would make the appointments for us from our own client base that we had. And we would just meet up with the clients again, review their policies. If we saw another need, then we're able to fulfill that need.
Was your primary base people over 65 getting into the new insurance programs for seniors?
Yes, and that's something that we learned a long time ago in at UTEP was, you can't be what they call jack of all trades. Okay, you really need to focus on one thing. So we focused on health insurance. So at the time, people that we had already fulfilled the need for life insurance, we focused on those people for the prescription drug plans, okay? And then from there, it just took off. Started getting referrals, started getting more referrals, started helping people out more, boom, boom, boom. And then we actually had in a 500 square foot office, if you can believe it, they're all Montana, they're with Carlos Carrasco. There was 5 of us there, and we're like, what? We don't fit here anymore. So in 07, that was a couple years later when we had those employees. In 07, that's when we actually moved out to the east side. And the reason why we also went out to the east side was that most of our clients were out there, okay? Because when we were at MetLife, a lot of the folks that were interested in life insurance, Spanish speaking, obviously we speak Spanish, so they would send us out, to the valley. Okay, so a lot of our clients were, Isleta area, Lakeside area. That's where, our core was. So we wanted to have not only an office that was closer to them, okay, to our core, but also have more space. Okay, so now the office that we're in, it's almost 4,000 square feet that we have now.
So you moved from a 500 square foot room to the place you're at now.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was in 2 years.
Yeah, that was in 2 years.
You started in 05, so in 07 you moved to a bigger place.
Yeah.
But you had to start hiring, right?
I guess the first step was, having, your receptionist, your customer service. We also have an in-house accountant. Having those needs, because it's something that if you don't have somebody doing, those things, then it's going to take away from your ability to focus on your clients, okay? But we also hired a lot of independent agents. So there's actually a lot of agents out there that were looking for a place, that we give them, where they have that freedom, they have that flexibility of contracting with several carriers to be able to give the client what's best for them. So, we've always had, when we started out, in '07, we had five agents, that were core with us. 3 of them are still with us today. Okay, so they've actually been with us, since day one. But it allowed for us to train the agents, okay, to actually be going out on the appointments. That way we were able to focus on how you're saying, obviously growing the company, but also new needs come into play, okay? So now, we have a bigger customer service team. Like before, it was like one individual. Now we have several people that do customer service. Another thing too also is, instead of having one person doing appointments, now we have several. Okay, so we actually have people that are just on the phones, making appointments, not only for us, but also for the agents. So as you start growing, okay, these needs start coming into play. But there's a lot of, I guess you could say, needy positions that when you're starting off, you were able to handle it. Like for example, when we started off, when we had those 5 agents, I would do the payroll. So once a month, we would cut checks and, do the bank accounts and all that. And then I got to a point where I was like, what, this is taking up, good 20, 30 hours of my time a week. So that's when you hire somebody. Another issue obviously was customer service, where clients were constantly calling us, for different issues. They didn't get their ID card, that was a big one. Or sometimes they didn't get authorizations from the doctor to get a prescription drug. So you start figuring, you're like, what, this is taking up a lot of my time, so let's hire somebody to do that. So as you're growing, you yourself are running into these needs, but sometimes people don't want to let, that control loose, okay? And it's something that a business owner, you struggle with, because, and the reason why you struggle with it is because starting off, when you're sitting down with a client and you fulfill that need, you give them your word that, what, if you run into any problems, you have any issues, please call me, okay? So you give them your commitment. Okay, so those commitments, after a while, especially now we have over 6,000 clients just for the Medicare prescription drug program, okay? For the Obamacare, we have over 5,000, lives, for that. So, you get to a point where, you just got to let go. Just got to, what? I'll service my clients as best as I can, but sometimes there's some issues that, I got to tell them, what? Call the main office, and there's going to be somebody there that's going to help you, okay? But people really, have been very, very patient with us over the years, because we've had clients on the books, for 10 years now, and have been very loyal clients. And, if you're watching, thank you, for number one, for your trust, but also that's the way that we've been able to grow the business, because they see value in what we do, and they've been able to pass the word out.
So how did you learn how to build a business?
Oh, I guess from everywhere. I wish there was like a recipe, like when you're cooking something. I wish there was, but there isn't. And in a way, it's good that there isn't, because if there was a recipe to do, to make a business, then everybody would be doing it, So when you're starting off a business, it's number one, you gotta have that love. You gotta have that, what? I don't care what's gonna happen, or I'm gonna make this work. I'm going to make this work. I'm going to dedicate my time. I'm going to do this. Obviously over time, it works out, but obviously, don't forget where you come from, always, have a support team, with you and value that support team. Because you never know when
you've got a very, very strong sense of values.
Yes.
And so you hire staff. Do you establish that corporate culture throughout your organization?
Yes, and that goes, through the hiring process. First, we'll, number one, they got to be bilingual. Number one, Spanish and English. So that's a strong factor with us. But then also, when you're sitting down with somebody and you start asking them, why is it that you need a job, or what motivates you to wake up each day and work? When you ask those types of questions and you get responses like, oh, to pay my bills, or then you're like, oh. But when you get responses, oh, you know what, my grandma had a real difficult time because she didn't have a prescription drug plan and nobody educated her on this, and now, that's why I want to join your team to do this. Totally different, right? So, we instill that culture into our own employees and really our own clients. And when there is a position available, we let them know, but we tell them, this is the type of person that we need, okay? But we really try to, create a culture, they're saying that's, we're very together, but always having the client, number one.
Well, now you're a large organization.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now in the 4,000 square feet, how many employees do you have?
It's the 30 full-time employees that we have. Mm-hmm.
And that's all support personnel?
Support personnel, yeah. And then, we have, between 20 to 25 agents that usually stop by the office, to either pick up material, drop off paperwork, or even see clients there at the office as well. But that is probably going to be, for me, it's been the biggest challenge. It's very, very difficult to manage people because, everybody's different. I think that has been the biggest challenge for me, and really us as an organization, to be fair with the employees, but also let them know that we appreciate them. We always try, to maybe have a meeting and bring them lunch, or maybe just have a day where we take them out to lunch. We always do bonuses as well. We do Christmas parties. We actually do a company trip every year.
Tell me about that company trip.
Yeah, every year. We've taken them to a lot of places. The first company trip that we did, back in 2007 was to Ruidoso, But over the years, we've taken them to New York, to Washington, D.C. Last year, we took them to Puerto Vallarta. We've taken them to Seattle, to Vancouver, San Francisco, Las Vegas.
You take your whole company?
Yes,
your whole
we
staff.
take all the employees.
Once a year.
Once a year. Mm-hmm.
Why do you do that?
Just to show them, it's just a small token of our appreciation, because what we do isn't like a clock in, clock out type of job. Say if you're working at a factory, you clock in and you assemble stuff and you clock out and that's it. Our type of business, we don't carry an inventory. Ours is service oriented, so we know that a lot of our employees go a lot of times out of their way to help out a lot of these individuals. For example, my community relations director, he actually goes out to people's homes that need, like adult diapers, or just need, maybe some assistance on certain things that we know, but they don't know, okay? Because there's been a lot of cuts recently in Medicare and Medicaid programs, and it's really hurt a lot of people in our community, So we try to get donations, from wherever we can, and then pass on those donations to our clients. But I know that our employees go a lot of times out of their way, to go and help out those clients.
Well, you also do what they call Obamacare,
Yes.
Affordable Care Act.
Mm-hmm.
But you're different, right?
Yes.
How are you different?
The reason that we're different is, number one, we don't charge anything for our service. Okay. The first thing that we do is actually educate the people on the law. Okay, that's the first step. So there's a lot of places out there that people just go and they don't even educate them on the difference on deductibles for health insurance, on co-pays. They just tell them, okay, you're here to enroll. Okay, they enroll them, and that's it. The difference being is because number one, we're licensed, in health insurance. The second thing is that we're actually certified by the federal government. It's over 50 hours of training that you have to do every year to get that certification. A lot of places around town, they might be volunteers, or they might be people that might do other things, such as taxes, or just it's not their specialty. Health insurance isn't their specialty. So that's the reason why we're different than anybody else. And we're probably one of the largest agencies here in town that help out people with the Obamacare, because first we educate them on the law. Then, depending on their family size and income, they could qualify for subsidies. So we actually give them a quote on what level of assistance they might qualify for. And then we're actually able to not only enroll them into the health insurance, but even before that, you have to qualify them for those assistances. Okay, and that's something also that a lot of people don't know. And that really makes us different than anywhere else.
Well, now your business is large, and so now you run into different kinds of business issues, I imagine. You still go out and you visit with clients.
Yes.
You still
Yes,
sell.
I do. Yes, I do.
So how do you sell and balance that with running the business?
It's hard. But technology really, really helps you. For example, like on my phone, you have my agenda there. So if there's an appointment, or say a client calls me, I need for you to come and help me out. You know what? Let me check my agenda. Let me see when I could go and see you. And even if it's after hours, I'm never gonna change that aspect. If a client calls me, I'll go see them, as soon as I can. But it does limit you a little bit in the ability to focus more on the business and, try to grow it more. Not so much in the sense of making it bigger, but accomplishing it quicker. See what I mean? Because, it's just like with anything. If you focus on something, you're gonna get it done quicker, right? But us since day one, we're like, our focus is our clients. So we'll try to focus on other things for the business as much as we can, but through technology and developing different relationships here in town, through marketing agencies, through ad agencies, it's like, okay, we need this. You pay them, and they do it, and so that really allows for you to focus
So
more.
what's the future of Del Norte Advisors?
Obviously, the future is, our main goal is, to try to become the agency or the main agency here in town for health insurance. Okay, that's really our main goal. Okay, for example, you think of car insurance. What do you think of? Fred Loya, right? Our main goal is, to be number one in terms of health insurance. So, we want to have several locations here in town. We're looking at some possibilities of doing that, just to meet the community's need a little bit better. But more than anything, if we're able to instill, our values, our ideas with different parts of the community, then we're all going to benefit from it, okay? Because it's something that we've seen through our client base, okay? And something that we see every day. We have clients in our office all the time, thanking us for basically not having to lose their house because they had health insurance to cover their cancer treatment, okay? Or for people to get better because now they have, and through health insurance, something that pays for their prescription drugs, pays their treatment, pays their doctors, and not having to go to Juarez to get treatment. just the other day, we had a client there thanking us because she actually enrolled into Obamacare last year just because, she had to not be penalized, because now everybody has to have health insurance, because if not, when you do your taxes, you're going to be penalized. And at the time, last year, she did it, because, for that was her motivating factor to do that. But 9 months later, after doing that, she actually delivered a baby. Exactly. And she didn't qualify, because of her income. She wouldn't have qualified, for Medicaid, but it was through the health insurance that she was actually able to, to deliver the baby at a very, very affordable rate,
Well, you certainly bring a service to the community, and your story, your story is fascinating. One of the things I know is that you invest in your business.
Yes.
You invest heavily in that.
Yes.
And you and your partner have a good working relationship, and you're growing employees.
Yes. Yeah. 40% of our revenue goes into marketing every year.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Felix, we really appreciate your story. It's a
My
wonderful
pleasure.
story. Paso del Norte Advisors, and under your leadership and your partner's leadership, we thank you very much for your story, and we trust that the viewers enjoyed the story and learned about medical care, but also about what it takes to build a business. Well, thank you for watching, and thank you, Felix, for sharing.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Good day.